Hey guys, welcome back to FreckleFace Finance, where we discuss personal finances open and honestly so that you can live the life that you deserve. It has been a while. There's no other way I could say it, but it has been months since I've set up my tripod, turned my camera on, and decided to film for this channel. It has been a lot going on, y'all. 2025 has been turmoil. Tons and tons of just changes and changes and changes. So I decided to cut the camera on, pop in here real quick to talk about all of the changes. So as you guys know, I am a federal government employee, and y'all, it's been a lot. And one of the things that I felt like was really important about making this video is to kind of talk about what some of the changes that I have been seeing, because to me, it seems like something different is happening in every organization, and we all are hearing something different. We all are seeing something different. So I'm hoping that this will kind of bring, you know, some consistency. Now y'all, I can't bring consistency to the entire federal government. It's just not possible. But I'm at least hoping that here we can start the conversation on what we are seeing in different organizations and kind of like a path forward. So I specifically wanted to make this video for people who have recently been fired or put on admin leave, let go. Like, the wording is not even consistent across federal government. So whether you have been permanently removed, placed on admin leave, put on admin leave and came back, it's just a lot, y'all. So if this applies to you, I wanted to give you guys some different resources and kind of like some things that you can look into if this is your current situation. So before I get into that, I just wanted to quickly address, there are a lot of rumors or like things that are happening that we don't know, and it's just a lot. So before I get into that, I just wanted to quickly touch base on some of the things that we are hearing and kind of what is going on in my specific organization. I don't really feel comfortable stating what organization I belong to, because y'all, I low-key thought about making this video and like creating a separate YouTube page and like blurring my face out because I'm scared of retaliation. But I ultimately felt like, you know, I have crossed my T's, dotted all of my I's. So for the most part, I don't think that any retaliation is warranted, but you just don't know. So anyways, with my current organization, we have been required to respond to the 5 things that you did the previous week before. At first, when a lot of organizations were responding, my specific organization was kind of like on hold on, you know, who should respond, whether we're gonna respond or not, what to say. Like, it was just very confusing, and we weren't sure what the, I guess, like consequences of not responding would be. So ultimately, my organization did direct us to respond. And so what I have seen, because I have friends all over federal government in different agencies, and so what I have seen is that some agencies are just leaving their people to just have at it. Like, they didn't put out any type of guidance on how employees should respond. It's kind of like every man for themselves. Fortunately, in my organization, they did put out guidance on how they want us to respond. So at least it is like some type of formality, and it's like consistent across the board within my organization. I actually like that better, because if you're just doing every man for themselves, it just kind of seems like, to me, the agency is kind of just leaving you out to dry. So I really like the fact that my agency put out guidance on, hey, everyone that works for our agency is going to respond like this. So I really like that. If you are in that boat and you still to this day, even though y'all, we've been doing this since February, something like that, March or something like that. So it's been a couple of months. If you are still unsure of how to respond, I'll put like in the comments down below, just kind of like how my organization has instructed us to respond, and then you can use that as a template for your responses. So it's not like specific, hey, say this, but it's kind of like an outline of, hey, this is what you should say, right? So if you guys are unsure of, you know, how to respond, or you kind of like feel iffy about your responses, then please feel free to look at my template down below. So now that I've said that, I also want to get into the RIF, or reduce in force. And so it has been said that the federal government, I think, is supposed to RIF between 5 and 10%. And so that is really unclear on if the entire federal government is RIFing 5 to 10%, or if each organization is supposed to RIF 5 to 10%. And that can look completely different for every organization. Some organizations that are very large in numbers may RIF 20,000 people, where, you know, smaller organizations may RIF 50 people, but it's, you know, a huge footprint in their workforce. So that 5 to 10% can be, you know, different for each organization, but I feel like, you know, it could really impact a lot of people, okay? And so with this RIF in place, one of the things that I have started to like turn my wheels on is that every single organization that I have worked for has always had a shortage of people. Like, it always feels like you're doing the job of 2, 3. Y'all, there was one point I was doing a job of 4 to 5 people. And that was when we're actively trying to fill those billets and fill those positions. So the federal government has been on a hold. So like there's a hiring freeze. So they haven't hired any new people unless you get a waiver since January, I believe, February timeframe. And so we currently have the hiring freeze in place, and then we currently have the active RIF that's going on. And so if organizations are losing 20,000, 10,000, or however many people, right? What does that do for the people who are remaining in the positions? And y'all, I don't have to say what that's gonna do. Like, you can just imagine, like, we're always, you know, forced to do more with less, but at some point, it's not gonna be possible to do more with less. It's not humanly possible. So, you know, my heart truly goes out to all of the people who have been impacted with the current rift, because, you know, you guys have families, you guys have bills, you have, you know, people who are relying on you and your income. And so truly my heart goes out to you guys. My organization has not started to RIF yet, and it's unclear of when that will happen and who will be impacted. So I think we all are feeling it, even if we haven't directly been rifted. The not knowing is also building a lot of anxiety and just uneasiness and across the board. And the morale is just in the shitter. The morale is in the shitter, you guys. So yes. So all right, let's get into if you were riffed or if you expect to be riffed. These are the things that you can look for and the resources that you can reach out to kind of stay afloat in the meantime. So number one, federal employees who have recently been fired or removed from their position, seemingly without cause, you are entitled to an appeal. So this appeal may be through the Merit Systems Protection Board, or you can make an appeal through EEOC, depending on what your agency's classification or reason for you being removed from your position was. So if your agency removed you for any of these reasons, this will be filed through EEOC, and in any other reason that you feel like may have caused you to be removed unfairly or unjustly will be through MSPB. So if you are filing an appeal, honestly, you guys, this can be really messy. And so appeals can take really long periods of time in order to be reviewed. They can go in front of a judge. Like, there's a lot of moving pieces. And so filing an appeal is definitely the first thing that you should do, just so that you have it on the record that you filed an appeal, and then you start the process. So whether or not you want to go through with the appeal is something that you have to determine with your family. It can take years. It can take years. You might have to hire a legal counsel, so it may take resources and money. Whether or not you decide to follow through with the appeal, I definitely think it is in your best interest to at least file the appeal so that you have it on the record that you filed. Some things that I have been seeing through the news, not from anyone that I know specifically, is that there have been large groups of people who have been reinstated after unfairly being removed from their positions. And so filing the appeal will definitely work in your favor in case later on down the road there is a review of anyone who filed the appeal and their position is reinstated. So like I said, whether or not you decide to go through legal counsel and spend years trying to get your position back, I definitely think it is in your best interest to file, just so you have a record of it. So if you are interested in filing an appeal to get your position back, I will leave some resources down below in the description so that you can check those out. There are going to be 2 different paths that you follow depending on what the agency's reason for letting you go was. And so number 2, which is something that I actually didn't know prior to doing research for this video, is that some federal employees are entitled to a severance package. So that means that you are receiving a lump sum when you are removed from your position. And so there are very specific requirements that you have to pretty much check the box for in order to be eligible to receive the severance package. One of the things that I saw is that you have to have been employed with the federal government for at least 12 months. So if you have passed your 12-month period, but maybe not have passed the 2-year probationary period and you have been removed from your position, you may still be entitled to a severance package. So if that is something that you're interested in pursuing and seeing if you qualify, you can definitely contact HR, and then I'll also link in the description box below the link where you can find out if you're even eligible before contacting HR. But that is definitely something that I didn't know was eligible for federal government employees, and so that may be a benefit to you if you have recently been removed from your position. So number 3, if you've recently been removed from your federal government position, you are entitled to a lump sum of your unused annual leave. And so this is the distinction from sick leave. You never get your sick leave. So the only way that you get your sick leave paid out to you is if you retire from federal government. But if you quit or have been removed from federal government, you are entitled to one lump sum of your annual leave, any credit hours that you haven't used, and any comp time. So that is owed to you, and that is something that you can use for immediate relief. So your leave should be paid out to you in one lump sum within 14 to 30 days of your last day of federal service. So if you have been removed from your position and it's been over 30 days, you need to reach out to your HR department to see where your check is at. Federal government employees who have been terminated from their positions are entitled to unemployment pay. Now, this will be different because I've seen that a lot of federal government employees have been removed but have been placed on admin leave. If you are on admin leave, unfortunately, you can't get paid out for your unused annual leave because you're technically still employed. You also do not qualify for unemployment benefits because you're on admin leave with pay. So you should still be getting paid. But if you have been permanently removed from your position recently, you are entitled to unemployment benefits. Now, your unemployment benefits are going to be through your state of residency. So I know in the DMV it is very confusing because you can work in Virginia but you live in Maryland, or you can work in Washington DC but you commute from Pennsylvania. So your unemployment benefits are going to be through the state in which you reside, the state in which you pay taxes for. And so I will leave a link down below so that you can check that out, so that you can have resources for how to file unemployment if you've recently been removed. Now, what I have heard with unemployment benefits is that it's not going to equal the pay that you were receiving while you were employed. So unfortunately, they provide you a percentage of your pay. It's not going to be a complete swap of what you would have received if you were still employed. But hopefully you have some leave or other resources in order to bridge that gap in the interim between now and finding a new job. So number 4, you need to start working on securing new healthcare benefits. And so people who have recently been removed, your health insurance will cover you for 30 days after your last day of employment. After that 30 days, you have one of 2 options. And so option number 1 is that you can reach out to your healthcare provider and you can request what's called temporary continuation coverage. And what that does is that allows you to keep your same health insurance with your same benefits for 18 months after your last day of employment with federal service. Now, there's a catch. You will be required to pay your employee's contribution as well as the employer's contribution. So however much money they were taking out of your check to pay your healthcare benefits, in addition to whatever the federal government was paying on your behalf. In addition to that, you will also be charged a 2% like convenience fee or something like that. Like it's absurd. So you will also be charged the 2% convenience fee in order to keep this option. But this will have the least disruption to you. So everything will be the same. You'll have the same benefits, same healthcare coverage, and you have that for up to 18 months from the last day of being employed. Now, there is a second option. You can reach out to that same healthcare company directly and ask about what type of plans that they have and see if you can find one that is affordable to you. To be completely transparent with you guys, both of those options are going to be pretty pricey. Like, there's no other way to say it, like they both suck. But having healthcare coverage is better than not having healthcare coverage, because if you don't have healthcare and there is some type of medical emergency, it's going to be way more expensive than it would have been to pay for healthcare out of pocket. Now, there is a third option that you guys can select. So seeing if you can go through your state's marketplace in order to obtain healthcare benefits. And so I'm not completely sure how that works, because in order to sign up for healthcare through the marketplace, they look at your previous year's tax statements. And so if you were employed in the previous year and you filed taxes, you probably make too much money in order to have healthcare on the marketplace. So I'm not sure what the marketplace does for people who have recently been removed from their positions, but it definitely may be worth looking into. And so I'll try to leave some resources down below in order for you to check out some health coverage from the marketplace. Number 6, don't wait to start the job search. And so this one is so important, you guys, not only for your own financial security, but also for your mental health. There have been people who have been laid off from positions who have literally been employed with the federal government for years. And some people may be thinking, oh, it's only young people, it's only people who are on probation. Well, the way that the federal government works is that when you are promoted to a new position, or if you have recently become a new supervisor, you come back on probationary status. And so you could literally have someone who has worked for the federal government for 20, 30 years and was recently promoted to a new position or recently became a supervisor, and they would have been placed on probation, which ultimately would have placed them in the realm of people who were put on admin leave or let go from their positions. So, you know, even if you are a part of the younger generation who is new to the workforce, or if you have been in the workforce for 20, 30 years, it doesn't matter. Losing your job is highly impactful to your finances and to your mental health. So don't delay the job search. Once you get into a habit of, you know, just taking it all in and you're feeling bad for yourself and you're moping around and you don't want to get out of bed, that just tumbles into a snowball effect to where it just impacts you. And then you're gonna start performing in your everyday life, just not showing up as your best self. So I really think that from the moment that you are removed, you know, give it a couple days, but on that third day, you really need to start the job search. In addition to this helping with your mental health, the job search is, it's a lot of competition, unfortunately. So, you know, especially in the DMV area, there have been masses of people who have been removed from their positions. And so they're all competing kind of like for the same jobs. So I know for me, myself, and I, if I was removed today from my federal government position, I'm gonna immediately start looking for jobs. But in the meantime, I'm gonna pick up that server job. And what does that do for people who were already competing for the server job? We're all gonna be competing for that job. Y'all might see me working at McDonald's, to be honest. Like, I'm not gonna go a long period of time without securing some type of income coming in. And so because I think like that, I'm not alone. I'm sure that there are thousands and thousands of other people who are thinking the same thing. Like, so when push comes to shove, there's no job that I feel like I'm too good for, because I can pick up that job while I'm looking for something else. And I feel like there's a ton of other people who feel the same way. So my advice to you guys is to not delay the job search, because you're competing with thousands and thousands of other people. And so I know a couple of years ago, 2 years ago to be exact, I was on a hunt for a new job, and it took me 8 months to find a new job. And that was prior to thousands and thousands of people being laid off. So make sure that you take into account how long it actually takes to get a new position. And so in the interim, don't be afraid to pick up something that might not specifically be in your field, but it will get the bills paid, because at the end of the day, money is money and it all pays bills the same. So if you do find yourself on the job market, there are 2 resources that I highly recommend for previous federal government employees. Number 1 is LinkedIn. I, to this day, get emails from recruiters looking to recruit me from my profile on LinkedIn. I definitely think that that is a great resource for professionals. And there are a lot of people who are watching the news, because you can't really get away from it, about federal government employees being removed from their position. And they're going to LinkedIn to try to recruit that top talent. Like, federal government employees, despite what they are saying in the news, are, in my opinion, cream of the crop. Like, they're highly educated, they're very dedicated to their positions, they're great employees. And so other people know that, and so they're going on LinkedIn to try to recruit people who have been recently removed because they are top talent, you guys. So make sure that you have a LinkedIn account. I know that my previous agency did not allow us to have a LinkedIn account. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account right now, you can check out this resource that will kind of give you an idea of what to put on your LinkedIn profile, and you should make an account today. Like, as soon as you finish watching this video, you should go ahead and make you a LinkedIn account, because I'm telling you, the recruiters, they're going there and they're trying to find that top talent. So make sure that you have an updated account. Number 2, a lot of federal government employees have clearances. And so clearance jobs is the LinkedIn for people who have clearances. So make sure that you have an account on clearance jobs. I'll leave like some resource here for you guys to check out in order to make sure that your account is up to date, and you will start getting notifications from recruiters trying to get you from clearance jobs as well. That is mainly for people who have clearances and who have previously worked for the federal government, and you can check out positions from there. And so make sure that you guys make an account there as well, because you want to make sure that your profile is getting pushed out to as many recruiters as possible. You want to make sure that your account is getting pushed out to as many recruiters as possible, because high visibility will hopefully yield high results. And last, and I actually will say it's last and least in this particular situation, you can always check Indeed, but I kind of feel like LinkedIn and clearance jobs is going to be the top 2 places where federal government employees are going to have the best results. And then Indeed, of course, you can look for positions on there as well, but I kind of feel like the recruiters on clearance jobs are going to be more serious than the job postings on Indeed. So, you know. But of course, you can apply to all 3 of those, and I definitely feel like it will increase your chances. So last but not least, and it is my least favorite option, but it is an option that is available to recently removed federal government employees, is that you can actually have your F.E.R.S refunded to you. So every check that you have, you're gonna see some type of, F.E.R.S, or, some of y'all are on CERS, and if you're on CERS, this doesn't apply to you, and you're probably more in line with applying for early retirement. But for those who aren't able to take advantage of early retirement, if you have F.E.R.S and if you're on the F.E.R.S system, you can have your F.E.R.S deposits refunded to you. And so the reason that this is my least favorite option is because you are pretty much refunding your pension. And so if you don't plan on returning to federal government, like if you completely want to wipe your hands and you don't see yourself going back, that's fine. You can refund your F.E.R.S to you. It will come in a large lump sum, and you will pay taxes on it and be done with it. But you do have that resource available if finances are getting pretty tight. So for example, I've been in federal government for a little over 10 years, and I have a good amount of money that has been taken out of my check and deposited into my F.E.R.S on my behalf, so that I have that available to me when it's time for me to retire. So if I'm removed from my position and I'm no longer employed with the federal government, I can request a refund of all of those deposits that I have put in for the last 10 years into my F.E.R.S account, because I'm not retiring from federal government anymore because I've left my position or I've been forced out of my position. And so if I decide to do that, when I reach age of retirement, I can't reach out to the federal government and ask to, have my F.E.R.S annuity instated, okay? Now, if I decide to work somewhere else as a contractor, or I have my own business and I work there for 10 years and then I decide to go back to federal government, you do have the option to pay it back, and then you are still entitled to your federal government pension. So if you decide to have your F.E.R.S refunded to you, you are forfeiting your pension with the federal government. Now, that might not be a big deal to some of you guys. Like if you've only worked for federal government for 2-3 years and you know that you're not going back, by all means, have your F.E.R.S, you know, that's money that you paid, and you can have that refunded back to you, and it can help you in this interim while you're in this next phase of your life. If you have worked in federal government for a long time, like let's say you worked in federal government for 20, 30 years and now you've been removed and you're not ready to retire, and so if that is your case, I would recommend not having your F.E.R.S refunded to you, because once you reach age of retirement, you can have your federal government pension. So that is a benefit that is to you because you have already inputted 20, 30 years of federal service. There are pros and cons to having your F.E.R.S refunded to you. Ultimately, you guys are gonna have to make a decision that is best for you and your family, and nobody on the internet can make that decision for you. It's a very serious decision, and I can't tell you what the best decision is for you and your family. But I at least wanted to give you guys that information so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. So if you are interested in having your F.E.R.S refunded to you, I will leave a link down below so that you can check that out. I definitely recommend that you check all of the resources before you make that decision, but it is a decision that is ultimately up to you. All right guys, so that wraps up for today's video. I hope you found this helpful, and above all, I hope you guys are taking care of yourself. There are thousands and thousands of people who are pretty much experiencing a traumatic experience right now, and there are going to be thousands and thousands of more people who are impacted as well. So above all, I hope you guys are taking care of yourself. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care.